plus inflation. So the interest rate that are nominated 10%, 5%, 13%. So that does have a component of inflation inside. So if nominal interest rates are high, it means that inflation is high because overall the risk-free rate for all the global economy remains the same. So if all the risk-free rates are the same, then why there is interest rate difference among countries is because of the inflation factor that is included in the interest rate, nominal interest rate. So let's just move forward to understand that. So the Fisher effect, they refer to as a relationship between nominal interest rate and inflation. It suggests that nominal interest rate contains inflation expectations and the real interest rate, or the risk-free interest rate or real interest rate, right? So the real sorry, the real interest rate represents the return on the investment to savers after accounting for expected inflation, right? So let's just talk about that. So if the real interest rate is constant over time, then if two countries' interest rates are different, it's because of the inflation that the countries are experiencing. So recall our discussion, that country which is having highest inflation, that country will import more, and due to that importation, high import causing trade balance negative, current account will go to the deficit side and currency start depreciating, right? So that counterpart or that counter argument in which we talked about higher inflation, higher interest mean we will be expecting a lot of inflow, capital inflow to our country because we are paying higher interest rates, and then due to demand of our currency, the currency start appreciating. So that argument is no longer valid. Why? So that argument is only valid if real interest rate start increasing, inflation remain the same, right? So using international Fisher effect to predict the exchange rate movement. So we can apply the Fisher effect to find out what will happen to this country. So the first step is to derive the expected inflation rates of the two countries based on Fisher effect. The Fisher effect suggests that nominal interest rates of the two countries differ because of difference in two countries' inflation. So if United States is interest rate is 6%, United Kingdom is 5%. Why there is a difference? Because in US inflation is high, that's why its interest rate is higher. So it rely on the PPP. So international Fisher effect relies on PPP because PPP also says that higher inflation means currency will depreciate. Similarly, with the international Fisher effect, high interest rate mean the factor of inflation is higher, its currency will go down, right? So the international Fisher effect theory suggests that currencies with high interest rate will have high expected inflation inside, and relative high inflation will cause currency to depreciate according to PPP, right? So this is just a minor difference, and that is the PPP and international Fisher effect are related in terms of inflation because both suggest that due to this inflation, currency will depreciate, right? So implications of the international Fisher effect for foreign investors are that, so those investors who want to attempt to capitalize on high interest rate, they must know that high interest rate means currency will depreciate because interest rate consists of inflation factor and real interest rate or risk-free rate. So in that case, if this remains the same and inflation is high, then you would be adversely affected by the exchange rate, right? So implication for the non-US currencies. So the international feature effect theory can be applied to any exchange rate, even exchange rate that involves two non-US currencies. So here we have illustration of international feature effect here. So you see, so we have Japan, and Japan investor is in Japan, and he want to invest in Japan, or he want to invest in United States, or he want to invest in Canada. So expected inflation differential is that in United States it is -3%, in Canada it is -8%. So nominal interest rates are here. So if you just ignore all these columns, so we know that inflation in Japan is interest rate in Japan is 5%, in United States 8%, in Canada 13%, right? Now, what is the if we want to just take out the inflation differential, and we assume that here there is no inflation in the and okay, if we want to find out whether we want to invest, so it's a clear motivation is that we should invest in Canada, because Canada is giving us how much? 13% interest rate. America is giving us 8% interest rate. And if, as a Japanese investor, if I invest in Japan, I would be ended up earning 5%. So there is a clear motivation for us to invest in Canada. So let's just talk about this. So if inflation in the United States is 3%, and in Canada it is 8%, right? Then everybody is ended up earning 5% if you are in Japan. Why is that? Because currency, if we invest in US, currency will depreciate 3%, and we would be ended up earning only 5%. What if we invest in Canada? The currency will depreciate to 8%, and we are ended up earning the same 5%, right? So according to international Fisher effect, no matter you invest whether in high interest rate country, or if you want to compare the purchasing price, whether it looks cheaper from outside or cheaper from us, no matter where you invest, you would be ended up paying the same amount that you have been paying or receiving in your home country. So it's better to invest in your home country and avoid transaction costs, legal charges, and different in taxations and all the stuff. The question is, in all this scenario, provided real interest rate remains the same. If real interest rate is changing, it means it is beneficial to invest in that country. So up till now, before our discussion was that inflation, interest rate high, currency will appreciate. And now we segregated the interest into nominal versus real interest. Now, the argument is that if the real interest rate rises, then currency will appreciate. If the nominal interest rate are rising, it's because inflation factor is rising. And higher inflation means currency will depreciate, right? So if we compare the international Fisher effect, so it's simple is that the forward premium is equal to we talked what is the interest rate parity. We talked about that the forward premium would be equal to 1 plus interest in home divided by 1 plus interest in foreign minus 1. And what is purchasing power parity? Purchasing power parity says the foreign exchange, it will increase or decrease based on inflation in home divided by inflation in foreign 1 plus minus 1. So essentially what we are trying to say, we say that simple because, and we are basically trying to say that the currency will appreciate or depreciate depending on interest rate differential, because interest rate differential is evident that inflation will be high or low. So that's why we say if we combine purchasing power parity and the interest rate parity, so this is the purchasing power parity, foreign exchange, and this is interest rate parity. So relationship between interest rate differential between two countries and the expected exchange rate. So simple, currency will appreciate or depreciate depending upon the interest rate in two countries. So if home country's interest rate is higher, foreign currency will appreciate and domestic currency or home currency will depreciate. So simple point to note that the country who is experiencing high interest rate, inside the interest rate, higher is the portion of inflation. Higher inflation means the home currency will depreciate, foreign currency will appreciate, right? So this is the scenario here. So if we have a relatively high local interest, a high local interest rate means higher inflation. Inflation means people are having more money. Money supply increased in the company, in the country. And people have more money, they will purchase more imported goods. Imports will rise. Our current account will move towards deficit because imports greater than exports, and the currency start depreciating, right? Scenario 2, if we have a low interest rate, what does it mean? The inflation component in the interest rate is lower. It means the money supply is not high, it's lower. People cannot afford, or people find it's expensive, for to buy imported products. So imports will decrease. So current account will move towards surplus because exports gonna rise, imports gonna decrease. So that causes currency of the home currency to appreciate, right? If nothing happened, then nothing happened. That's it. So local and foreign interest rates the same. Local and foreign inflation are the same. No impact on the volume of current account. So currency will not appreciate or depreciate. Right, guys? So that's all. So if you understand all these scenarios, the international future effect, please do solve this question. So how much time we have? Yeah, we still have more time. So let's just solve this question. So pause the video here, those who are watching the video, and try to solve the answer. And after that, we will be talking about comparing the answer here. Okay, so let's just solve this question together. So assume that nominal interest rate in Mexico, the interest rate is 48%, while in US, interest rate is 8%, right? So describe the expected nominal return to US